On today's show, the Cavs have some adjustments to make after game one. But with the health of the team right now, there's one thing that needs to go well in Tuesday's game two. I'll tell you exactly what that is, and we will talk all about it on today's edition of Locked On Cavs.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? My name's Danny Cunningham. You might know me from my time covering the Cleveland Cavaliers, places like my Substack, The Inside Shot, Cleveland Magazine, 92.3 The Fan, and a number of other stops along the way. I want to say thank you to you for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. You can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. Be a friend. Tell a friend about Locked On Cavs. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure a friend is subscribed as well. And if you're watching the show on YouTube right now, do me a favor. Hit that thumbs up button for me. Click subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content, a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, because right now new FanDuel customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. The Cleveland Cavaliers will be taking on the Indiana Pacers tonight at Rocket Arena, game 2 of the Eastern Conference semifinals. Cast, of course, trail that series 1-0. And on Monday, the Cavs got some bad news on the injury front. More accurately, they got that news Sunday night during game 1. But DeAndre Hunter listed as questionable for game 2. Evan Mobley listed as questionable for game 2. Darius Garland listed as questionable for game 2. Hunter has dislocated his thumb, according to Kenny Atkinson. It's what he told the media on Monday. He's listed as questionable with a right thumb sprain. Evan Mobley, as I said, listed as questionable with a left ankle sprain. Darius Garland still dealing with that great toe sprain on his left foot. At this point, right now, and I'm recording this Monday night, I would be surprised if any of those 3 players play on Tuesday against the Pacers. I would be surprised if that's the case. Maybe Evan Mobley can play, get through that ankle sprain. I don't know how severe that is. I think when you hear dislocated thumb on a shooting hand, pretty difficult injury. I would be surprised if Darius Garland is able to play in this game. Not saying that any of those guys can't, but as I sit here Monday night, I would be surprised by it. So what does this mean for the Cavs? Because they are very clearly dealing with some significant adversity for the first time this season. They won 64 games this year. There were not many adverse situations they found themselves in. But trailing 0-1 with potentially having 3 of your 5 best players sitting in street clothes on the bench on Tuesday night, not a situation you want to be in against a very good team in the Indiana Pacers. The Cavs have something they can do. And there are some X's and O's adjustments. There are ways that I think that they could do a better job of dictating the pace that this game is played at. There are a number of different levers that I think Kenny Atkinson can pull schematically in this game. We'll get to all of that. But the thing that the Cavs need, more than anything that Kenny Atkinson can do as coach, aside from making open shots, right? Like that is a thing that they probably need more than anything, is just, hey, make open shots, because they did not do that on Sunday in game 1. The thing that the Cavs need is they need Donovan Mitchell to be a superstar. So on Monday, the NBA Coach of the Year award came out, and Kenny Atkinson was named the NBA's Coach of the Year. On Sunday, Evan Mobley received his Defensive Player of the Year trophy. Well-deserved, both of those guys. Donovan Mitchell has not won an award this postseason. If I had to bet, he's going to finish 5th on the NBA's MVP ballot. If I had to bet, he's going to be named first team All-NBA when those teams come out later this month. Donovan Mitchell, since he's been in Cleveland, in my opinion, has been a superstar in every sense of the word. He's been the best player the Cavs have had. I think he's the second best player that this team has had in its franchise's history, trailing only LeBron James. I say all of that to say this. Tuesday night is why you have Donovan Mitchell. Tuesday night is what Donovan Mitchell is in Cleveland for. He is a superstar. This is the game where the Cavs have their backs against the walls. This is the game where The Cavs don't have their full assortment of options offensively or defensively. But the Cavs have Donovan Mitchell. And the Cavs need Donovan Mitchell to go out, and we've seen him do this at times. Now, this year, he hasn't needed to do it because the Cavs have been so good. But throughout his tenure in Cleveland, we've seen him be able to put this team on his back. On Tuesday night, if all three of those guys are out, and again, we don't know if all three of those guys will be out. But if all three of those guys are out, the Cavs are going to need, I think, a heroic effort from Donovan Mitchell to get a win. Now, just because they're without Darius Garland and Evan Mobley and DeAndre Hunter, if those three don't play, doesn't mean that nobody else on this roster is capable of picking up slack elsewhere. We've seen it from Ty Jerome. We've seen it from Dean Wade at times. We've seen it from Isaac Okoro at times. We have certainly seen it from Jarrett Allen, who's become one of the more underrated players in basketball. We've seen it from Max Strus. We've seen it from Sam Merrill. But on this stage, I really think we need to see it from Donovan Mitchell. Donovan has been in this spot before. Maybe not this exact spot where he's on a 64-win team, because this is the best team that Donovan has played on, including all of the teams that he played for in Utah. This is the best chance that he has had to win a championship. And because of what happened, not only in game one, but in the 24 hours following game one, that plan has gotten a little bit off the tracks. But superstars are made in these moments. And I think that Donovan, in his career, has done a good job rising to the moment. And I think this season, particularly, we've heard Kenny Atkinson talk about this a number of times, about Donovan Mitchell understanding the sense of the moment and knowing when it's time for him to get others involved or when it's time for him to kind of put on the cape and become the hero that the Cavs need. And on Tuesday night, I get the feeling that the Cavs are going to need a hero. I get the feeling that they're going to need Donovan Mitchell to play like a superstar. They're going to need Donovan Mitchell to play like, if he's going to be named first team All-NBA, play like a guy that has been a top 5 player in basketball. That's what that honor says. There are no positional restrictions anymore in those awards voting. It's not that, oh, Donovan was one of the 2 best guards. No, that will say Donovan had one of the 5 best seasons in the NBA. So go do it on Tuesday night. Go do it in the playoffs. Go carry your team, which is what this is for Donovan still. This is Donovan Mitchell's team. Go carry your team to a win in what I believe is a must-win game with their backs against the wall and probably some pretty important pieces not available. Go take command of this game. Go put this team back in position to achieve its goals. Because right now, with these injuries, with the game 1 loss, it feels like they're a little bit out of position. And these things happen, right? Like the Cavs had a historically bad shooting night by their standards on Sunday. That kind of is what it is. There's nothing they can do to go back and change it. There's nothing they can do to, erase that from the record books. It counts. And I would expect that tonight they shoot much better than they did on Sunday. I don't think they're going to shoot 23% from beyond the arc again. There are things that they can do better, and we will talk about those coming up. But I just keep coming back to, aside from the shooting variance aspect of this, the Cavs need Donovan Mitchell to be better. They traded for Donovan Mitchell to transform this team from a team that won 44 games and was a really good story the year before he arrived, lost in the play-in, had a very bright future, had some awesome young pieces. They traded for him so that they could transform into a championship contender. It didn't happen right away. They didn't expect it to happen right away, but it has happened. They've become a championship contender in large part because of what Donovan Mitchell and, of course, Evan Mobley, Darius Garland, Jarrett Allen, Kenny Atkinson as coach. All of these things matter. But none of this, we're not having this conversation right now without Donovan Mitchell being who Donovan Mitchell is. And I think on Tuesday night, it sort of serves as that moment for him to really rise up. And it's hard for me to say cement his place in Cavaliers history because this is a game 2 of the second round. But when I look at all of the circumstances, when I look at what Donovan's career has been so far, and it's a very impressive career, and I believe one day he can end up in the Hall of Fame. Like, that's how good of a basketball player he is. But he is somebody who has not ever been to a conference finals. And he's been in the playoffs every year of his career. And he's not made it past the second round. He has never won 2 postseason series in the same postseason. At a certain point, I think that starts to weigh. I think that starts to matter. When you start to talk about legacy, no one's going to confuse Donovan Mitchell with the LeBron and the Michael Jordans of the world. Like, that's not the conversation that he's in, but he does have a historical place. So as you look at this, it's hard for me to sit here Monday night, roughly 24 hours before tip-off of game 2, and think anything other than this might be the biggest game of Donovan Mitchell's career to date. It might be. And how is he going to respond to that? How is he going to respond to being on a team that came in as a very heavy favorite, is now shorthanded, has its back against the wall? A lot of pressure, I think, is on him. I think a lot of pressure is on this Cavs team. And how Mitchell responds to that, I think, will tell the story of what happens tonight in game 2. The Cavs are going to win this game if Donovan Mitchell has a superstar performance. If he doesn't, I'm not as confident in the Cavs. I think they need him to really not only be a great player, but be a leader in this game. And I think Donovan has done a great job his entire time in Cleveland, being a great leader, not only through his actions, but his words. But I think that this is a game where the Cavs need him to be a great leader for his actions. They need him to go out and be a superstar. If that happens, I think you feel good about the Cavs. I do. If that doesn't, things get really rough really quick. But the bright side for the Cavs is they've got Donovan Mitchell and the Indiana Pacers don't. And that is what needs to be on display Tuesday night for the Cavs to even this series up at 1 game apiece before it goes to Indiana for games 3 and 4. Now, what do I think needs to change other than just, hey, Donovan Mitchell, go be great? Well, we're going to talk about that next right here on Locked On Cavs. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Why is it brought to you by FanDuel? Because, of course, FanDuel is America's #1 sports book, and the NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action because FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. Maybe you don't love the Cavs -9 tonight, which is what the line is as I record this Monday night. Maybe you don't love that. You want to see how did the first 3 minutes of this game go? And maybe that line's going to move around a little bit. Well, with FanDuel, you can bet on the game live as it's going on because maybe your thoughts are going to be decided. Hey, if this specific thing happens within the first, 3.5, 4 minutes of the game, I feel good about this team. If it doesn't happen, I feel good about the other team. FanDuel allows you to pick and choose when you want to place your bets. And if you're new to FanDuel, now is the perfect time to sign up because if you head to FanDuel.com right now and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $200 in bonus bets if it wins. Yeah. Does that sound too good to be true? Well, it's not because it is true. Again, head to FanDuel.com or download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Place your first $5 bet, and if that $5 bet wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you again for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. Like I said earlier, you can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. Be a friend. Tell a friend about Locked On Cavs. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure a friend is subscribed as well. The Cleveland Cavaliers have a number of different things that I do think they can do better on the basketball floor, other than everything I said in the first segment about Donovan Mitchell. Just go be a superstar, go win the game. But I think there are things that Kenny Atkinson and his coaching staff can do a little bit differently. And because I just talked so much about Donovan in the first segment, I kind of want to start there in the second segment. But as you look at the box score in game 1, one of the things that stands out to me about Donovan's game, not necessarily that he took 30 shots and didn't have the best game, certainly, but it was that he played 33 minutes. I think that number at this point, and I understand that everybody is dealing with something, and Donovan would walk to the scorer's table with a wrap on his lower left leg. Like this is not, might not be the healthiest guy in the world, but nobody is at this point in the season. I think that he needs to play more. I do think that that is absolutely something that not only should be on the table, but should be required at this point where the Cavs are at. I'm not saying he's got to go play 45 minutes in a game 2, but he does have 3 days off after this. The Cavs play Tuesday. They don't play again until Friday, so I guess 2 days off really, Wednesday and Thursday. So I think that his minutes should be higher. I really do think that, especially when you consider who is out. I think Donovan should be playing somewhere like 37, 38, 39 minutes in this game because of how important it is. That's a very easy thing to adjust for the Cavs. And of course, having fewer bodies available is going to mean that there are more minutes to go around. So you're going to see Donovan play more, I would imagine. But that is kind of thing number one that I look at and say, you know what? I just don't know that the best players for the Cavs played enough minutes against the Pacers. If you look at Indy's box score, Tyrese Halliburton played 36 minutes. Andrew Nembhard played 37 minutes. Pascal Siakam, who played the third most minutes on the team for the Pacers, played the same amount of minutes as Donovan Mitchell. I just don't think that's a place the Cavs should be. I know they want to rely on their depth. I know they want to be about that stuff. But at a certain point, I think you need to play the best players more, especially when not every player is playing all that well. Like after the game on Sunday, I kind of thought, you know what? I'm not sure Isaac Okoro is going to play much more in this series. Now, after these injuries, if those 3 guys that we talked about in the first segment are not available, I would expect that he still plays in this game, that he's still part of the rotation, because the Cavs rotation is going to probably shrink to 8 guys, right? Without Hunter, without Mobley, it's probably going to shrink to 8 with just where they're at health-wise right now. So I do think that's something to keep in mind. Like maybe Tristan Thompson gets a few minutes just because Jarrett Allen can't play all 48. And you don't want to play Dean Wade at the 5 all the time. Or maybe Javonte Green gets a few minutes as somebody who can play at Indy's pace. I don't know. But I do think the rotation is going to look different. Obviously, partially that's because of the absences that we are expecting this team to have. I also think that the Cavs need to play with more force and more focus. And Kenny Atkinson brought this up a bunch during his availability on Monday at Cleveland Clinic Courts. And I know if you listened to my bonus episode on Monday, you heard everything he had to say about the physicality of the game and about the injuries to Hunter and Mobley. And I don't want to rehash that stuff here because I did an entire episode on that. So if you missed that and that's what you're looking for, there's an episode already in your feed or on this YouTube channel if you want to go check that out with further thoughts that I just don't need to rehash here. But one of the things that stood out to him about that game was that the Cavs didn't have the requisite focus. They did not play with force. I think a big thing to watch for early on in this game is which team is dictating the pace at which it is played. I thought early on Sunday, the Pacers dictated the pace, and that's a big reason why they won this game. Now, quarters 2, 3, and 4, I thought the Cavs did a much better job of that, but they had to dig themselves out of a hole, and that's just not an easy place to be. And I think avoiding that should be something that is very, very important for them. I also think defensively, one of the things that got them in trouble, because the Pacers shot the lights out in game 1. And if they got all of those shots again, they probably don't shoot 19 of 36 again. Like they probably just regress to the mean a little bit naturally. Not saying that the Cavs did a great job defensively, because they did not, but I do think there was a little bit of bad luck in terms of shooting. So that is something to keep in mind. But I also think the Cavs overhelped, and I think they overhelped at the wrong times in game 1 on Sunday. I think they need to do a better job, and maybe this is going to change and maybe things look different if Evan Mobley's not out there. Like your defensive strategies isn't going to be the exact same because you don't have the defensive player of the year. And DeAndre Hunter, too, obviously a very good wing defender. But I think that the Cavs need to do a better job of staying more disciplined defensively. I heard on Monday from everybody that spoke about guarding your yard, about staying in front of your man and playing better individual defense. I think that is going to be a real point of emphasis for them on Tuesday in game 2. I think physicality is going to be another thing that is a real point of emphasis, considering how game 1 went. And as I record this, of course, have no idea what the officiating crew is going to be in game 2 between the Pacers and the Cavs. And different officials call games differently. That's the human element of this. Not saying Zach Zarba and his crew were great or bad in game 1, but I know it's going to be different in game 2. So maybe the physicality is something that does get turned up. And that was something that everybody that spoke, Sam Merrill, Jarrett Allen, Kenny Atkinson, they all pointed to the physicality aspect that the Cavs were not ready for that. They, to me, looked shell-shocked in game one. The Pacers landed the first punch. They did it masterfully. The Cavs have to get off the mat. They have to fight back in a really big way. So I think that those things certainly make sense. And I am also curious with if Evan is out, what does the starting lineup look like? Is Sam Merrill still in the starting lineup? I would imagine Dean Wade slides in and is the starting four for the Cavs if that's the case. Just what does that group look like? I think Kenny Atkinson has a lot of very important decisions to make going into this game, not only about what they're going to do schematically, and I think that there should be maybe more of an emphasis on getting to the basket because I think that's an area where the Cavs can have a lot of success and set up better three-point opportunities because they didn't generate great looks. They were okay. They were average offensively, I thought, in shot quality generation. But overall, what can they do to improve that? I think that kind of starts with getting to the basket. That's Donovan. That's Ty. That's Jarrett Allen. Maybe that's Max Strus a little bit, who 8 of his 9 shots were three-pointers. Maybe Isaac Okoro being in the game means you're seeing more of the off-ball cutting that made the Cavs so successful earlier this season. I think just about everything that I've talked about so far is on the table for the Cavs in this game too. What they choose to do, what's going to be most effective, that's going to be a fascinating thing to watch tonight for the Cleveland Cavaliers as they look to even up this series 1-0. Kenny Atkinson on Monday was announced as the NBA's Coach of the Year. He deserves that honor, and Tuesday he can prove why he deserves that honor. We'll talk about all of it and why he deserves it mostly next right here on Locked on Cavs. So Monday night at about 6:30, the NBA announced Kenny Atkinson named the NBA's Coach of the Year. He beat out former Cavs head coach, of course, JB Bickerstaff, who finished second. Atkinson finished the voting with, let me pull this up. He finished the voting with 59 of a possible 100 first place votes. He deserves this. He absolutely deserved to have this award. I thought that what Kenny did this season was incredibly impressive from start to finish, from beginning the season 15-0 to having 3 winning streaks of 12 or more games, earning the best record in the Eastern Conference. All of it to me was incredibly impressive. It really, really was. I sit here and I just think, you know what? Kenny Atkinson was everything that the Cavs needed when they decided to move on from JB Bickerstaff. He was everything that they needed. They made the right decision there. And listen, if I had a ballot, JB probably would have been second on it, second or third. He deserved consideration. He did a great job in Detroit. But I think what Kenny did in taking a team from good, which the Cavs were last year, they were a good team, won 48 games, 51 games the year before, to great, is really, really difficult to do. This Cavs team was the first NBA team since the 2008-2009 Cavs to win 64 games in a season after winning fewer than 50 the year before. It doesn't happen, especially when you don't change the roster significantly. So for Atkinson to be able to do what he did this year, I think he is being appropriately honored with the NBA's Coach of the Year award. I don't know that the voting community got every award right. Of course, there's a lot of room for discussion and everyone's opinion is valid, but this is one that I absolutely do agree with. I absolutely think this is right. Now, Kenny Atkinson on Tuesday night can kind of go back up that, hey, I deserve this because this is a really big spot for him. I don't think this is a stretch to say this is the biggest game for him as a head coach. In Brooklyn, he didn't get out of the first round. And of course, as an assistant, he has won a title. So he's been in big moments before, but it's a little bit different when you're in charge. He needs to find a way to lead this team to victory, despite probably missing some key players, despite some other key players, maybe a little bit beat up, trailing 1-0 in a series at home, already having lost home court. That is on, for as much as I talk about, Donovan Mitchell has to go be a superstar, and he does, and that matters more than anything that Kenny Atkinson can do as a coach. But the coaching aspect of this stuff, it matters without a question. The Cavs are in this position partially because Kenny Atkinson has been so good as a head coach this year. And I think they need him to be so good as a head coach on Tuesday night too. He needs to outcoach Rick Carlisle on Tuesday night. I think that should be the challenge for him, is back up this award and say, hey, I earned this. I'm going to go be the best coach on Tuesday night. I don't think he was the best coach on Sunday. I think he needs to be the best coach on Tuesday. Some other things that I think are interesting to watch here is, what do the Cavs do defensively with Jarrett Allen in terms of switching? Like, the Pacers really made it a point of emphasis to pick on him, to try and drag him out to the perimeter. Now, without Evan Mobley, potentially, if he is out, without him potentially on the floor, that means only one big on the floor. And Jarrett Allen's rim protection is going to matter more because there's not going to be two guys. I didn't necessarily get the feeling this was a great matchup for Jarrett Allen before the series starts. And now it's a tough spot for him if Evan Mobley's not going to be able to play on Tuesday night. So how the Cavs utilize him on both ends of the floor, because I do think that he can do some really good things offensively, and he should be able to sort of punish the Pacers a little bit for playing that 5-out style that they've become so good at. And then the other thing, and I know I've touched upon this, the Cavs have to dictate the pace in this game. If they allow Indy to dictate the pace the way they did in game one, it's not going to go well for the Cavs. I do think they figured something out early in that game, like the second quarter, maybe midway through the second quarter. I think they figured something out on how to combat that. They're obviously not going to come out and say that, but in watching that game, it felt like once they withstood that first punch, they figured out, okay, we're going to be all right. We're going to figure this out. Whether that comes to fruition in game two is maybe, outside of, again, Donovan Mitchell's performance, the most important thing that the Cavs can do. Now, obviously, the most important thing the Cavs can do is win this game, but win or lose, I will be back after this game with an instant reaction podcast. Myself and my guy, Tony East, will be talking Cavs Pacers game 2 right here on Locked On Cavs. And then I will have, of course, a full solo pod coming your way first thing tomorrow morning talking about game 2. So if you want to make sure you get that in your podcast feed, your YouTube notifications, what you need to do, subscribe wherever you're getting this, your Apple Podcast, your Spotify, maybe you listen on another podcast platform, I don't know, or if you're watching on YouTube, hit subscribe. And then once you're done hitting subscribe, click that thumbs up button for me and click the notification bell so you don't miss it, because I want you to have all the Locked On Cavs content that is humanly possible to have. So thank you for making this one your first listen today. And again, I will be back tomorrow talking about game 2 between the Cavs and the Pacers.